Some stories don't begin with a name. They begin in silence. No family searching, no missing child report, no photograph circulated through town. Just a cardboard box, left by the side of a rural road. And inside it, a boy. Not just any boy, but a child so forgotten, so invisible to the world that no one even noticed he was gone. For more than 6 decades he was known only by a title, the boy in the box. No one knew who he was, where he came from, or how he had suffered. Today, we begin the journey of telling his story, piece by piece, because even the most silent victims deserve to be heard. It was February 25, 1957, a freezing Tuesday afternoon in a quiet stretch of Fox Chase, Philadelphia. Back then, the area was mostly wooded, filled with abandoned lots, thin trees and overgrown brush, a place where secrets could be hidden, and often were. That day, a young man named Frank Guthrum was checking his muskrat traps, a common practice at the time. As he moved through the dense undergrowth near Susquehanna Road, he spotted something odd, a cardboard box, slightly open with something inside. At first, he thought it was a discarded doll. It wasn't. What Frank had found was the body of a young boy, no older than 4 or 5, thin, pale, bruised, wrapped in a plaid flannel blanket. The box was from JCPenney and once held a baby bassinet. Frightened, Frank didn't report what he saw. He quietly left. It would be another day before a college student out for a walk stumbled upon the same box, and this time, he made the call to police. That single phone call would begin one of the most haunting investigations in American criminal history. The child was examined by the medical examiner. He was white, estimated between 3 and 7 years old, though most believed him to be around 4. His hair had been recently cut, but not professionally. Uneven patches and shaved spots. His fingernails were trimmed. His body showed signs of long-term neglect, malnutrition, bruising, and small scars, including one on his ankle and another on his chin. But there were no signs of obvious trauma that could point to cause of death. More chillingly, no one had reported a missing child matching his description. No frantic parents, no relatives, no teachers, neighbors, or friends. It was as though he had never existed. He had no name, no history, no voice. With no identity and no leads, the authorities had no choice but to bury him as a John Doe. He was laid to rest in a pauper's grave in a small cemetery at the edge of the city. A plain headstone was placed above the soil, with a short message, "Heavenly Father, bless this unknown boy." But something about the case stirred Philadelphia deeply. The newspapers dubbed him America's unknown child. Local detectives, even after retiring, continued working the case in their spare time. Some even paid for the child's new burial years later at Ivy Hill Cemetery, where his grave still receives visitors today. The box he was found in was traced to a JCPenney store in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania. It had once contained a baby bassinet, one of only 12 shipped to that region. Investigators tracked down the recipients of every known box, except one. Hair was found inside the box, a hat near the scene, footprints in the mud, but none of it led anywhere solid. Years passed. Theories grew. Was he an orphan, a kidnapped child, the victim of abuse? No answers came, only more questions. And then, silence. As the years went by, the case grew colder. The boy's image was recreated by forensic artists, flyers were distributed across the country, newspapers ran yearly features hoping someone would recognize him, but no one ever did. Time, as it always does, moved on, but his story refused to die. Because deep down, people knew this boy had mattered. Maybe not to the world when he was alive, but now, after death, he would not be forgotten. Decades later, new technology would breathe life back into the case. DNA, genealogy, science that didn't exist in 1957. And finally, a name. But before we get to that revelation, we must walk through everything that came before it. The heartbreak, the obsessions, the dead ends. Because to truly understand this case, we must understand the world that failed this child first. In the next episode, we'll dive deep into the early investigation, the media frenzy, the desperate theories, the first suspects, and how, even with a city watching, the answers stayed just out of reach. February 1957. Philadelphia shivers, not just from the winter wind, but from a chill that cuts deeper. A boy, discarded, found in a box meant for a bassinet, not a coffin. His skin pale and marred. His hair recently cut as if in a final act of care. He was someone's son, someone's secret. His story, a whisper lost in the rustle of dead leaves. Who was he? Why was he left there alone in the cold embrace of February? The questions hung heavy, unanswered, a haunting melody in the city's heart. Philadelphia, a city known for its grit, found itself united in grief and outrage. The image of the boy, forever young, stared back from newspapers and wanted posters. 400,000 strong, they circulated, a city's desperate plea for answers. Leads poured in, each one a flicker of hope extinguished as quickly as it appeared. The boy in the box became everyone's child, his tragedy woven into the fabric of the city itself. Philadelphia would not forget. They couldn't. Not until his name was spoken, his story told. The box, a J.C. Penney bassinet, offered a starting point, but it was mass-produced, a dead end. A blue corduroy cap, size 7 shoes, a cheap blanket, pieces of a puzzle that refused to fit. Each clue, a whisper lost in the wind. Had the boy been local, passing through? Was he loved and lost or discarded like unwanted baggage? The silence was deafening, the lack of answers unbearable. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The seasons changed, but the question remained, who was the boy in the box? No missing person report matched his description. No family came forward, their hearts breaking with recognition. How could a child vanish without a trace? Without someone somewhere searching desperately for him? It was a cruel twist, the silence amplifying the tragedy. The boy, it seemed, had never truly existed, at least not in any official capacity. He was a ghost, a whisper in the wind. Detective Elmer Bristow, a seasoned officer with a heart as big as the city he swore to protect, refused to let the boy be forgotten. He carried the case file, the boy's gaze etched into his soul. Years passed, Bristow retired, but the promise he made to find the boy's identity never faded. He spent his own money, chased down every lead, consulted psychics, desperate for a breakthrough. Bristow's dedication mirrored the city's own, unwavering, relentless, a testament to the enduring power of hope and the unyielding pursuit of justice. Section 6. Shadows of speculation, theories and dead ends. Theories swirled like dust devils. Was the boy from a nearby foster home, abandoned by a desperate single mother? Whispers of a darker secret, child trafficking, circulated in hushed tones. Each tip, a potential lifeline, led to a dead end. The boy remained an enigma, a puzzle with missing pieces. His story, a cautionary tale whispered in the shadows, a reminder that even in a city of millions, one life could be easily extinguished, forgotten. Section 7. DNA's whisper, a voice from the grave. Decades passed. The boy in the box, a ghost story passed down through generations. Then, a whisper from the grave. DNA technology, once the stuff of science fiction, offered a new avenue of investigation. The boy's remains, exhumed, held the key to unlocking his past. Forensic genealogy, a new tool in the fight for justice, emerged. By tracing the boy's DNA through public databases, investigators pieced together a family tree, a roadmap leading to his true identity. The boy, lost for so long, was finally within reach. Section 8. Joseph Augustus Zarelli, a name restored. December 2022. A name echoed across the decades, a victory for justice long delayed. Joseph Augustus Zarelli. No longer the boy in the box, but a son, a brother, a human being with a name and a story. His short life, shrouded in mystery, could now be pieced together. The family, unaware of his fate, could finally grieve. Joseph, though gone, was no longer forgotten. Section 9. Justice delayed the unanswered questions, yet with answers came more questions. Who were Joseph's parents? What led to his tragic end? Was he loved, neglected? The investigation remains open, a promise whispered on the wind. Someone, somewhere, holds the key to unlocking the final chapter of Joseph's story. Justice, though delayed, is not denied. The city of Philadelphia, forever linked to the boy in the box, will never stop searching for answers. The fight for Joseph continues, a testament to the enduring power of hope and the unwavering pursuit of truth.
The story of Joseph Augustus Zarelli. For decades, he was known only as the boy in the box. The case was cold, ice cold. Detectives came and went, tips fizzled out, and his name faded into the background of Philadelphia's darkest mysteries. But in the shadows, a new kind of detective work was brewing, one that didn't care about missing paperwork or faded memories. Forensic genealogy. Instead of waiting for someone to recognize a face, scientists could now pull DNA from the smallest fragments, then build an entire family tree from scratch. That's how, in 2019, the Philadelphia police teamed up with Othram Inc., a top lab in forensic genealogy. They worked for years, tracing connections, mapping relatives, and following the genetic breadcrumbs. Finally, a name rose out of the silence: Joseph Augustus Zarelli. Born in 1953, 4 years old when he died. The tragedy? He was never reported missing. No school files, no doctor's notes, not a single official record that he even existed, let alone vanished. When police revealed Joseph's name in 2022, it was a seismic moment. His parents were long gone. Family members were stunned. Some didn't even know he existed. Rumors swirled. Was he given away, raised by someone else? All anyone knew for sure was that his life was invisible, his death unexplained. Commissioner Danielle Outlaw spoke for so many when she said, "We have our boy back. Now we can give him the dignity he deserved all along." The new headstone at Ivy Hill Cemetery says it all. America's unknown child, finally home. No one's been charged. The case remains open. There are still so many questions. Why did no one report him missing? Who was responsible? Is the truth buried in family secrets or lost to time? But Joseph's story proves something bigger, that perseverance matters. Forensic science, detectives, volunteers, they didn't give up. And because of that, the boy in the box is no longer just a case. He's a child with a name, a story, and a place in history. Justice isn't always a courtroom. Sometimes it's simply being remembered.
You know his name now, Joseph Augustus Zarelli. After 65 years buried in silence, the boy once known only as America's unknown child was finally given an identity. But as one mystery was solved, a name found, an even bigger question remained. What really happened to Joseph? How does a 4-year-old vanish from the world? No missing persons report, no news, no one looking. And perhaps most chilling of all, why has no one ever been held responsible? Welcome to part 4 of The Boy in the Box. If this story has stayed with you, if Joseph's face, his life and his stolen future weigh on your heart, please like this video, subscribe and share it. Because today, we search for answers. Not from files or evidence, but from silence, trauma and the truths families bury deep. When Joseph was finally identified in 2022, the case took a dramatic turn. He was no longer a symbol. He was a child with parents, a family name, and a real birthday, January 13th, 1953. His father, Augustus Gus Zarelli, a man from a prominent West Philadelphia family. His mother, Mary Elizabeth Abel, who lived just miles away. They were young, unmarried, and from different worlds. For decades, neither parent ever reported Joseph missing. In fact, many people close to them never even knew the boy existed. How is that possible? It starts with the era, 1950s America. A time when out-of-wedlock births carried heavy shame. A time when young mothers were often forced to hide, surrender or erase their children to protect the family name. But shame doesn't explain everything. Because Joseph didn't just vanish from paperwork. He was found abused, malnourished, and left alone in a box in the woods. So we have to ask, was this just a hidden child, or something much darker? The Zarelli name was well known in West Philadelphia. Gus Zarelli came from a respected Italian-American family. They ran a bakery, had local influence, and projected an image of success. But like many families of the time, reputation came first. Joseph's birth was never acknowledged publicly. No photos, no celebrations, no baby announcements. He was a secret. One kept so deeply, many relatives later said they never even knew he existed. Joseph's mother, Mary, was a teenager when she got pregnant. Some say she was sent away during the pregnancy. Others claim she kept the child briefly, perhaps in private care or with distant relatives. Theories abound. But what's clear is this: Joseph never had a stable home. Some believe he was passed around, shuffled between relatives, hidden in basements, raised off the grid. Others suspect he may have lived in institutional care or foster homes, places where abuse went unnoticed, even normalized. Still, no records exist. No proof, just silence. And in that silence, Joseph was erased. Let's explore the leading theories about what happened to Joseph. Based on available evidence, historical context, and what we now know from the DNA breakthrough. Theory 1. The accidental death theory. One long-held belief is that Joseph died accidentally, the result of long-term neglect or abuse. And whoever was caring for him panicked. The bruises on his body, the signs of chronic malnutrition, the fresh haircut, all point to a child who had been suffering for some time. In this theory, he may have been injured at home or in a care facility. Rather than face charges, the caregiver disposed of his body, hoping no one would ever connect the dots. And for 65 years, no one did. But if it was accidental, why wasn't it reported? Why not call an ambulance? Why hide? Because someone feared what that body would reveal. Theory 2. The foster care cover-up. In the 1950s, informal fostering was common, especially for unwed mothers. Some families quietly handed children off to other relatives or unofficial guardians. Joseph may have been given to a caretaker who agreed to raise him and failed him instead. If he lived in a home where abuse was routine, where medical care was absent and no outside eyes were watching, he could have slipped through every crack. No school enrollment, no hospital visits, no birthday parties, just a quiet life. That ended violently. Some even believe the local foster system knew about Joseph but chose not to intervene. In this version, his death was a tragedy, but the cover-up was institutional. Theory 3. The family knew and stayed silent. This is the most unsettling theory, and yet the one that gains the most traction after Joseph's identification. That someone in the Zarelli or Abel families knew the truth. Maybe not everyone, maybe not the parents, but someone who saw him hurt, someone who noticed when he disappeared, someone who asked questions and was told to stay quiet. Generational trauma runs deep, and in the 1950s, silence was survival. Speaking out meant destroying the family's name, risking shame or worse. To protect themselves, they buried the boy and the truth. It's one of the most common questions viewers ask. If we know who Joseph is, why hasn't anyone been arrested? The answer lies in a brutal reality time. Most of the key figures are now dead. Both biological parents passed away years ago. The caretakers, whoever they were, may be gone too. And even if someone alive today knew something, lack of evidence makes prosecution nearly impossible. No fingerprints, no confession, no eyewitness. Police say they strongly suspect who was responsible, but without clear forensic proof or a living perpetrator, the case remains open, but unsolved. It's justice, frozen in place. Let's take a moment and talk about something deeper than evidence. Silence. In this case, silence wasn't just the absence of noise. It was a weapon, a prison, a choice. Joseph was failed not only by the person who hurt him, but by everyone who didn't speak. The relatives who stayed quiet, the neighbors who turned away, the system that looked but didn't see. When we ask, how did this happen, we're really asking, how many people chose not to act? This is a story of generational silence, of hidden shame, of what happens when a society decides a child isn't worth noticing. Joseph's story isn't just a cold case, it's a mirror. How many children today live in homes where they're unseen, unheard, or unloved? How many systems still miss the warning signs? How many families protect their reputation instead of their children? In revealing Joseph's name, we're not just solving a mystery, we're honoring a promise that no child deserves to be forgotten. His face launched one of America's longest-running unidentified victim cases. Now it serves as a warning and a call to speak, to notice, to act, because silence isn't neutral. Silence protects the wrong people. Since his identification, Joseph's story has inspired movements around the country. His grave, once marked Unknown Child, now bears his name. People visit daily. They leave toys, candles, hand-painted rocks with messages like, "You are loved. We remember you, Joseph." Philadelphia has embraced him as one of their own. But more importantly, the world has. True crime fans, genealogists, advocates, and everyday people now speak his name. They make videos, podcasts, paintings, memorials. Because while justice may never come in a courtroom, it comes through remembrance. And sometimes that's the most powerful justice of all. So what really happened to Joseph Augustus Zarelli? We may never know every detail. We may never get a trial. We may never hear the full truth. But we know this. He was not forgotten. He was not invisible, and he was not alone. His story was carried by strangers for decades, until the silence broke. And maybe that's what we're all doing here. Keeping a light on for the lost, saying, "You mattered," even if no one said it back then. If you've stayed with us through all 4 parts of this heartbreaking story, thank you. Joseph's case is proof that the smallest voices can echo across time. We'll continue bringing you stories that demand to be heard. Unsolved crimes, human tragedies, and the hope that someone, somewhere, is still listening. So please like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because you never know which case we tell next might finally be solved. And if you or someone you know is struggling in silence, speak up, because silence steals lives, but truth brings them back.
Ellington, Connecticut, picture perfect, peaceful, until it wasn't. Nestled in the heart of New England, this small town was known for its tight-knit community and serene landscapes. The kind of place where everyone knew each other and doors were often left unlocked. But on that fateful December morning, the tranquility was shattered in an instant. The serenity of a December morning shattered. Snowflakes fell gently, blanketing the town in a deceptive calm. Sirens wailed, breaking the silence. The sound of emergency vehicles echoed through the streets, a stark contrast to the usual quiet. A tragedy had struck at the seemingly idyllic home of Richard and Connie DeBate. The house, once a symbol of suburban bliss, was now a crime scene. Connie DeBate, a beloved wife and mother, was found dead. Her loss sent shockwaves through the community. Friends and neighbors were left in disbelief, struggling to comprehend the sudden violence. Shot in the basement of her own home, the place where she should have been safest became the scene of her untimely death. Her husband, Richard, distraught and injured, told a harrowing tale. He recounted the events with tears in his eyes, painting a picture of a nightmarish encounter. A home invasion gone wrong, he claimed. According to Richard, an intruder had broken into their home, leading to a violent struggle. A masked intruder, he said. The figure, shrouded in mystery, had allegedly turned their lives upside down in a matter of moments. But something about his story didn't quite add up. As investigators delved deeper, inconsistencies began to emerge, casting doubt on Richard's account of that tragic morning. Richard DeBate's 911 call was chilling. The operator could hear the sheer terror in his voice, a man seemingly on the brink of despair. Panic laced his voice as he described a terrifying encounter. He spoke of a masked intruder who had shattered the peace of their suburban home. A masked intruder, he claimed, had broken into their home. The night was supposed to be like any other, but it had turned into a nightmare. His wife, Connie, he said, was gone. The love of his life, vanished without a trace, leaving behind only questions and fear. First responders arrived to a scene of chaos. Flashing lights illuminated the night as paramedics and police officers rushed to the scene. Richard, with superficial injuries, recounted the horrifying ordeal. His voice trembled as he spoke, his wounds a testament to the struggle he described. But amidst the chaos, investigators noticed something intriguing. Richard wore a Fitbit. This tiny device, often used to track steps and heart rate, could hold crucial information. A tiny device, a silent witness holding a trove of data. Data that could reveal the truth about that fateful night. Data that would unravel the truth. The Fitbit, with its detailed logs, would become a key piece in the puzzle, potentially exposing secrets hidden in the dark. Fitbit data painted a different picture. Richard's movements, meticulously tracked by the device, contradicted his story. His claim of being tied up by the intruder? The Fitbit showed him moving freely around the house. The timeline of events unraveled further. Connie's Fitbit tragically recorded her final moments. Her last movements? Not during the alleged home invasion, but much earlier. The silent witness had spoken. Richard's story was crumbling. Every piece of data from the Fitbit chipped away at Richard's narrative. He claimed the intruder and Connie struggled, but Connie's Fitbit recorded no such struggle. Richard said he returned home from the gym to the unfolding chaos, but the Fitbit data showed him at home much earlier. The discrepancies were glaring. Richard's carefully constructed story was falling apart. The Fitbit wasn't just a fitness tracker, it was a digital trail of his deceit. The investigation dug deeper, uncovering a hidden and secretive life. Richard, it turned out, was having an affair with another woman. He was also expecting a child with his mistress, complicating matters. The perfect life he portrayed was a complete facade. The motive behind his actions became chillingly clear. Richard wanted out of his marriage, but without the financial repercussions that would follow. His elaborate plan? Stage a home invasion, eliminate Connie, and paint himself as the innocent victim. The Fitbit data was damning, but it wasn't all. Digital footprints on Richard's computer revealed searches for ways to poison a person. Text messages with his mistress painted a picture of a man desperate to escape his marriage. The evidence was overwhelming. A web of lies, deceit, and a cold-blooded murder, all exposed by the silent witness on Richard's wrist and the digital breadcrumbs he left behind. The trial captivated the nation. It was a case that had all the elements of a gripping drama: betrayal, deceit, and a quest for truth. The courtroom was packed with spectators, all eager to witness the unfolding of a story that had gripped the public's imagination. The Fitbit, once an unassuming gadget, took center stage as a star witness. This small device, designed to track steps and monitor heart rates, became a crucial piece of evidence. It silently recorded the movements and activities of its wearer, providing an unaltered account of the events. The jury listened intently as the data revealed the truth. Each step, each heartbeat, meticulously logged, painted a picture that contradicted the defendant's narrative. The digital footprints left behind were undeniable, and the jury could see the stark contrast between the data and the story being told. Richard DeBate's carefully constructed story lay in ruins. His attempts to fabricate an alibi were dismantled piece by piece as the Fitbit data was presented. The tension in the courtroom was palpable as the reality of the situation became clear to everyone present. The verdict was swift and decisive. Guilty. The judge's words echoed through the courtroom, bringing a sense of closure to a case that had been fraught with uncertainty and speculation. The reactions were mixed. Some were relieved, others were in shock. Richard DeBate was sentenced to 65 years in prison. The sentence reflected the gravity of his actions and the impact they had on the lives of those around him. As he was escorted away, the weight of his crimes and the reality of his punishment settled in. The case sent shockwaves, highlighting the growing role of technology in criminal justice. It underscored how modern devices, often seen as mere conveniences, could become pivotal in uncovering the truth. Law enforcement agencies and the public alike were reminded of the power of digital evidence. The silent witness, the Fitbit, had spoken, ensuring that justice, though delayed, was ultimately served. Its data provided a voice to the voiceless, a narrative that could not be easily dismissed or ignored. This case was a stark reminder. In the digital age, our devices can be powerful witnesses, revealing the truth even when we try to silence it. The digital footprints we leave behind can speak volumes, often louder than words, ensuring that justice finds its way no matter how long it takes.